Okay, it's time to embarrass myself. Today we are going to be talking about all of the books that I own that I haven't read. If you are not familiar with the term TBR, that is to be read, and a physical TBR is the books that you own that you have not read. I have never wanted to be one of those people that has a massive TBR. I do want to have a library one day, but if I'm going to have a library full of books, I want to be able to say I have read every single one. With that said, I have collected some books that I have not read. And honestly, I don't know how many there are. Last year, there was like 30 on the list, but I've gotten a lot of books since then. So I have no idea. Let's find out together. I'm not going to do this in any particular order. I've just kind of pulled everything off my shelves. I've got them set up on the desk over here. The first thing I'm going to talk about is actually the books that I did not pull off of my shelf, and that's because it is all 12 of these Cassandra Clare books. I have here the Mortal Instruments series, the Infernal Devices series, and then the Last Hour series. I got most of these for Christmas this past year, so I have not read them. The only ones that I did not get for Christmas are the Infernal Devices trilogy, but I did not want to read those until I had the Mortal Instruments series, and since I haven't read those, then I have not moved on to the Infernal Devices. That's 12 books that I haven't read that take up an entire shelf on my bookcase. But to move on from those, Daydream by Hannah Grace. And to be honest, this is getting knocked off my list so soon. I've had it since it came out. I just haven't gotten around to reading it, but soon it is getting read. Next, we have a book that I actually soft DNF'd last year, and that is Dear Evan Hansen. I found this at Goodwill, and it is a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. I got partially into it and I just wasn't wanting to continue it at that time. I want to watch the movie. I want to see the musical, and I've heard the songs from the musical, and I think that it sounds really good. I just can't get myself to pick this back up. Then we have Wicked, another Broadway musical movie adaptation. I was gonna read this before the movie came out, but then people were telling me, oh, the book is nothing like the movie. So I didn't. I just watched the movie. Next, we have some of my newest purchases. So we have Phantasma. I just bought this and showed it to you guys in my last video, so I have not gotten to it yet. But funny story is that my sister actually was reading this book at the time that I bought it, and I had no idea. And she sent me a video and was like, hey, you need to go read this book. I think you'll really like it. So this is gonna get read soon. The other purchases that I made in that video, or at least this one, was The Serpent and the Wings of Night. And then I had The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So this is called the Nightborn duet. I've been wanting to read these. I've heard amazing things. I just needed to get them. And now that I have them, and I have Kindle Unlimited now, I'm going to be reading them. I was going to break this up and try to throw in some romance right now, but they're all at the bottom of the pile, and I don't want to pull those out. So, another fantasy is Heartless Hunter. I got this one for my birthday from one of my friends, and I've been wanting to read it. I've heard amazing things. I think the next book comes out this year. I think it's called Rebel Witch, and this is a witch and a witch hunter romantasy. Of course I want to read that. Why would I not want to read that? And another beautiful book is The Courting of Bristol Keats. This book is beautiful. This is a Fairy Loot exclusive edition. I had canceled my Fairy Loot subscription, and this book arrived after I had canceled it, so I had no idea this was even coming in. So when it arrived, I didn't think I was supposed to have it, but it's gorgeous. It's so beautiful, and I've heard really great things about this book from my friends who have read it. Next, we have a book that my sister gave me back in December of 2023, and this is called At First Sight by Nicholas Sparks. I have never read a Nicholas Sparks book. She is a Nicholas Sparks girl, and she highly recommends his books, but I haven't read any of them. I've only ever seen the movies, but since she recommends it, I do want to read it. This is a book that I bought at a library sale for like 50 cents. Is it Ellen Hilderbrand or is it Elin Hilderbrand? I've heard amazing things about her books, and this one is definitely giving summery vibes. The name is literally called Summerland. I have to read it in the summer. I could have read it last summer. I just didn't. Then we have The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood. I grew up watching this movie and absolutely loved the movie. And when me and my best friend saw that there were 2 copies of this book at a bookstore / coffee shop, we saw that they had 2 copies. We bought them and said we were gonna buddy read it, and neither of us has read it. Look at this font. That's like Bible-size font. That is itty bitty bitty. Back into the fantasy and into one that is actually super intimidating to me. This is the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy in one book, which I find extremely impressive. Plus, the cover is so good. It's so good. I thrifted this for $5, but because I know how Tolkien's writing is, I am scared. I have read The Hobbit, but I've never read any other J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm scared. Some little bitty books that I have are these 3 Hogwarts library books. My dad got me these years ago before I ever even finished these, because I just finished the Harry Potter books this past year. But these are like the textbooks that they use. So there's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander, Quidditch Through the Ages by Kenilworthy Wisp, and The Tales of Beedle the Bard, Notes by Albus Dumbledore. So this is like his copy that like Hermione gets in the book. I want to at least look through them and see the stuff, because they're not big. I gotta wait till I'm like in a reminiscing Harry Potter mood. Next we have How Does It Feel and What Did You Do? These 2 books are dark fantasy, and I don't think I've ever read a dark fantasy. But I've heard great things about this book, so I want to read it. And I know people are really excited about the 3rd book that is coming out. They're not that big. I feel like they're actually a really good size, because I mean, some fantasy books can be massive. I keep saying I'm going to get all of these soon. We'll see. I am a fantasy girl, but with Onyx Storm about to come out, we'll see when I get to all these. Then we have a book that I've been putting off for absolutely ages, and that's War Storm by Victoria Aveyard. I have not enjoyed the Red Queen series. It sits right here on my shelf. I read the first one, thought that's not bad, that's pretty good. Read the second one, didn't like it. Read the third one, didn't like it. And then I have put this one off because I haven't been enjoying the other ones. Will I read it? Probably, so I can at least say I read the whole series. But I'm not planning to read this anytime soon. Maybe I can make a video where I'm like finishing up series that I'm in the middle of. Maybe that would force me to do this. Then we have How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. This is a Christmas book, and I didn't read it during Christmas season, which means it's probably getting pushed off to Christmas season 2025. But a lot of people read this romance book this past Christmas, and my friend Brittany, she went and met Megan Quinn and actually got her to sign this copy. It even has some art in the front. Super cute. So I will read this, I'm sure, especially because she says it's super like Grinch coded, but it's not going to be until Christmas time because it's a Christmas book. More romance books. We have Wild Love and Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. Cowboy romance. I just want to finish Chestnut Springs series first before going into these. So when I finish Chestnut Springs, if I'm craving a cowboy romance, then I'll pick these up. But I will also say that before I finish Chestnut Springs and before I move into the Rose Hill series, I am going to be reading Lost and Lassoed. This is the 3rd book by Lila Sage in her Rebel Blue Ranch series. And this just came out not that long ago, and I've really enjoyed the series so far. So I want to read this 3rd one because I think the 4th one is coming out this year. And I hear a lot of people are really enjoying this one. The next 2 books are King of Pride and King of Greed by Anna Huang. I started this book and I just wasn't into it, so I haven't continued it. And I want to finish the second one before I go on to the third one. There's actually a fourth one that's out, so we'll see if I finish these. I really enjoyed the first one. I think I really enjoyed the kind of like forced marriage, so it made me just fly through that book. But I'm not in a place where this is the kind of romance I'm wanting to read. These are spicy. I'm not a spice girl. A spice girl. I am a plotline, storyline kind of girl. Next, we have an entire trilogy, and that is The Fifth Wave. I read the first book in high school and never read the rest of the series, but I'm throwing this one in there because I barely remember anything that happens. I just remember loving the book, and I remember loving the movie, but I haven't watched it in probably 10 years, so I want to reread the first one before I read the rest. Another book I read in high school that I am throwing in here is Flesh and Bone. This is a like zombie book, post-apocalyptic book. The cat is opening the door. I read this one in high school and really liked it. And then I could never finish the series because the second book in the series was never in the library. So I want to read this again because I remember very little about it. Then we have a classic. I say in quotations because I don't know if it's a true classic, but this is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And I thrifted this book specifically because Taylor Swift has based some of her songs off of this, and that's enough of a reason for me. Another classic that we have is Anne of Green Gables. This copy is so cute. I found this in a little free library and I swapped it out with one of the books that I wanted to get rid of. I know nothing about this other than the fact that it is a beloved classic. A young adult romance book, we have Eleanor and Park. At least I'm pretty sure it's a romance book. I've heard people love this book and I thrifted this one. It seems cute. I love YA romance when YA romance is done in a way that anyone can enjoy it. There's YA romance that is specifically for young adults, for middle school, for high school. Then there's young adult books that anyone can read and the material is appropriate for young adults. Then we have Stalking Jack the Ripper. This book looks so good. He murdered women in cold blood. He terrorized an entire city. He taunted those of us who hunted him down. But despite all those horrors, in the end, I could not deny it. I was the girl who loved stalking the Ripper. I got this for $5 at Barnes & Noble several months ago. I think it was in August, maybe. The cover is gorgeous. My friends who have read it say it is so good. Then we have They Both Die at the End. This book I've heard big things about on TikTok. I thrifted it, and maybe that's why I have a hard time reading some of these books, is that I kind of subconsciously rationalize that if somebody donated them to the thrift store that they're not good. That can't be true because I have found great books at the thrift store. So I need to read this at some point, but I think this is a series. I feel like I just saw not that long ago that there was another book that came out. Then we have a book by one of my favorite authors, Lynn Painter. This is Mr. Wrong Number. I got this at our Christmas party. I think I won this in another one of our games. It looks so cute, and I love a Lynn Painter book. This is, I think, an adult romance, if I'm not mistaken, which I do typically prefer her young adult romances. But I am not against trying this one out because I do love her writing so much. Now we have a truly gorgeous book. This is The Teller of Small Fortunes. I got this one from Fairy Loot, and it is so cute. The cat, the pink cover, the sprayed edges with the teapot. This one seems like it is a cozy fantasy, which is why I haven't picked it up yet, because it sounds really cute. But I want to make sure I'm in the mood for a cozy fantasy when I pick it up. I can't have this sitting on my shelf and have not read it. The next two books that are also from Fairy Loot. This one is The Gods Below by Andrea Stewart. And this book sounds so good. In a world where precious gemstones bestow magical abilities on the few who can harness their power, our main character, Hakara, must lead a rebellion against the gods themselves in order to find her missing sister. And, excuse me? And let me show you my favorite part. Are you kidding me right now? Pretty sure this is the last Fairy Loot book that I have and haven't read. This is Sorcery and Small Magics. This is a book that sounds super interesting to me. The description, it says it's about like two rival sorcerers who have to work together. So pretty. It's like butterflies and dragonflies, and I think this is a violin. Pretty sure that's a violin. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the instruments have something to do with the magic. And then we have my January book club book of the month. But if I'm being honest, I don't think I'm going to get it read in time. My book club is a little bit informal because it's just me and my book girlies. So we're supposed to be reading Quicksilver, but I have not started it yet. Today I am recording this and it is the 16th. I don't think I'm going to get to it because I need to read Onyx Storm when Onyx Storm comes out. So I'll probably read this after, when I am feeling a little bit of that hangover from being done with the newest Fourth Wing book. But I'm excited for this one. I think the next book comes out this fall, so I do have time. Next we have another duology, which I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, but I love a duology. The fact that I can read an entire fantasy story and it's all in this compared to, I mean, I love Throne of Glass. It's probably my favorite series, but 8 books, what is that, 4 books, 5 books in ACOTAR, Harry Potter's 7 books, like 2 books, perfect. Then we have Games Untold. I'm gonna be honest, I'm in no hurry to read this. I have read the first 2 books in this little spin-off series that is coming off of the Inheritance games, and I just didn't love them. Then we have the entirety of the Matched trilogy. I don't even think these are in order. Oh, yes they are. Just kidding. This is a series that I really wanted to read when I was in high school and I never got around to it. I always saw it and I never checked it out. I don't know why I never read them, but I'm hoping they will give me similar vibes to The Selection because I loved The Selection when I read them a few years ago. Those are the books that actually got me back into reading. I was thankfully able to thrift these, so I didn't spend an outrageous amount of money on them or anything, but it would be nice to get them read and check them off of my TBR. And the last book that is on my physical TBR is Scythe. This is a book that I bought last fall because I've heard amazing things about it. In this sort of utopian society, there is no death, there is no illness, and because of that, someone has to make the decision on who is going to die. And so these people are training to be that person who decides. I haven't started it, mainly because I didn't realize it was a series. Whenever I picked it up, I thought it was just a single book. And I'm not sure I'm ready to get into this whole series yet. We'll see when I pick it up. If I counted correctly, then that is 55 books that are on my physical TBR. Now I have to load them back onto my bookshelves, but I want to know how many books you have on your bookshelf, and I want to know which of these books you recommend that I read next, because I need to get back on my physical book grind, because lately me and my Kindle have just been best buds. I cannot put my Kindle down. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!